Hey everyone, Philip from Scan Unlimited, and I know I've been gone for a bit, but we've been working hard on getting the new version of Scan Unlimited up and running for you guys. And for my first video back, I wanted to go over the new features that we included, and a lot of the features are actually suggestions from you guys, and some of them are kind of what we've wanted to incorporate so that we can make our way towards our next full feature version, so version 2. So we made a article for you guys to check out with the new features for version 1.7, and it lists out all the things that we added in, so if you'd like to, you can go ahead and read up on that. We're gonna go over what we've incorporated, and then we'll kind of play around with it so you guys can see how to use them. The first thing right off the bat is the new UI, and also the scan layout has changed a lot. So let's go ahead and open up the Melissa file. So now you'll see that we're trying to take up as much screen real estate as possible so that we can fit more data. And of course, now we have even more columns than we did before. A lot of these columns are data points that users were asking for that either we just didn't provide at all, or it required someone to download the file first. But now that's not the case. Everything that's in the downloaded file or the downloaded version of the scan is now in the web version. So that does add a lot more columns, and that means that we have a horizontal scroll now. Because if you remember from the previous version, all the columns would fit into one view. But to allow for all these new data points, we had to add a horizontal scroll. I still think it's a good implementation versus, let's say you're using Excel. I still think this is a lot more intuitive. You can even hide the columns if you don't want to see all of these, but we'll go over that in a little bit. Besides the UI changes, the layout is pretty similar. So you have your title of your scan at the top, and then you still have the fulfillment option toggle on the top right. That's still there, as well as the ability to download in the top right. So that's all the same, and generally the order is the same in terms of the columns. So UPC is first, followed by cost, so that's all the same. New things in here would be the package dimensions. So the height, length, width, and weight is in there now. The package quantity is in there. It was taken into consideration in the previous version, but we only used it to calculate the ROI. So we hid it from view. Now you see straight up that what the package quantity is, and we use that to calculate ROI. So for example, if something had a package quantity of 2, we would multiply your supplier's cost by 2. We had some feedback that some people wanted this column to be editable, which I agree, because sometimes Amazon's data is wrong and you want to be able to manually correct that. So definitely look out for that in not version 2, but hopefully sooner than that. Other columns that were added in, oh yes, we broke out the Amazon fee. So before we would just show all the fees in one column, and now I've changed that to have basically broken up into 3 columns. So the FBA fee itself, then the referral fee, which is a commission on the price, and then some items have the variable closing fee. So you see that breaking out, so you can kind of better understand where your costs are coming from. You do see the shipping costs now in the scan. Before it was just being taken out of the ROI. But now it's actually a column itself. You also see the variation parent now. And then also the profit column is now in here. So you have a column just for ROI, and instead of a tooltip, we have a separate column just for profit. And then at the very end, there's an icon that actually takes you to the product detail, which is a completely new feature, and we'll go over that in a little bit as well. So let's just say after looking at this, you're happy that we have more data, but you're not so happy that it's taking up more than, you know, the size of your screen, so meaning that you have to scroll back and forth. And I can understand like that can be a little disappointing, because when I first designed Scan Unlimited's front end, the idea was to not have to do that. But I think we found a good compromise here, and that's the ability to hide columns. So let's go ahead and try that out. So let's say you wanted to hide like the height, the length, and the width, because you just don't care about those attributes. So you just click the filter in the top right, and you find that these are all the columns, kind of mirroring the scan columns. And all you have to do is click the little eye visibility icon next to anything that you want to hide. So let's say we're going to hide the height, the length, and the width. And then you just click off of the scan filter menu, and then you'll see that it renders again without those columns. And on this computer, granted it is a pretty big computer, but now I can see everything in one view without a problem. And just a little pro tip, the little hamburger menu icon in the top left corner, that can also give you some more space if you need it. I think it might be a good time to talk about the filtering, because I already opened the filter menu. So to get to the filters, of course, you just click the filter button. It's the same place where you are hiding the columns. Basically, when you want to filter, so let's say we want to do a filter on ROI. So we're going to scroll down to ROI, and you just click it and it expands. And this gives you the ability to add as many filters as you want. So let's say I want to have an ROI that's greater than, and you just click the drop down, and that gives you options to choose from. So I'm going to say greater than, let's say 20%, but I'm looking for less than 200%, let's say 300%, just because most likely at that point it's not like a real ROI, so maybe it's like a bundle or something like that. So now you see that there's these two chips here. Kind of like before, these chips used to be at the top, now they're over here on the side. You can remove them just by clicking on the X on the chip, and that'll remove it. And it's nice that all the filters are on the side nav, because in one glance and in one basically almost like control panel, you can control all your filters in one spot. So for example, let's also add in a sales rank filter. So I don't want anything less than 0. Of course, that doesn't even exist. But let's say I don't even want 0. So we're going to say greater than 0. But we want less than, let's go with 200,000. Because at that point, the item is a little too slow of a seller for us to even care. And now applied, just click outside of it. It's going to render it again. And here you go. Filters are applied just like before, except I think now it's a little bit easier to access. Some users were requesting a shortcut to the filters. Instead of having to click the filter button and then applying your filters and then clicking off, there is a workaround, or not a workaround, I mean, the side nav is still very accessible, but if you just need to add like one little thing real quick, the drop downs make it a little bit quicker to do that. So I would just click this menu icon, the drop down comes down, I can, just like inside the side nav, I can click greater than, and then press 5, and then click add. And you'll see that the chip is now inside of the drop down. Click the X to close it, and it's applied just like it was in the filter side nav. And if you go to the side nav, you'll see that the cost is there, it's applied. So just like as if you applied it there. To help those people that like to download the file, especially if you've already applied some filtering, we added the ability to not just download the file, but the ability to actually download the filtered results. So if you click the top right icon with the 3 dots and choose download filtered, you're going to get only the results that are in your view at that time, which can be very useful if you need to save it for later, or maybe do some more analysis on it, it's there for you. So before we move away from the scan detail page, I wanted to show you one other thing about the filters that a lot of people were asking for, and I think you guys are going to really like this because it's a huge time saver, is the presets. So let's go back to the filter side nav. And let's say, again, I'm going to do like the example of greater than 0 for sales rank, and let's say less than 100,000, right? And let's go ahead and also hide some columns like height, length, and width. But that does take some time to do, especially if these are like, maybe you do like the same thing every time. This can kind of get tedious. So that's where the presets come in. So let's say I like this setup. Let's say you want to go ahead and save that as a preset. So all you have to do is click the option icon in the top right, and you choose create preset. So this pop-up will come up and allow you to give it a name. So give it something you can remember it by. So let's just say I'm just gonna call this my default, because maybe this is what I do every time. So I'm gonna call it default, save that. And then you'll see the name of the preset in the top right. So let's go ahead and like kind of simulate this real quick. So let's say I go to another scan. Let's go to another scan here. So I'm going to go to Melissa file in the UK instead. So all you have to do is click the filter button. Again, the options icon. Instead of create preset, you're going to select load preset, and then we called it default. So we're going to click default, and there you go. It loads you all of those options you saved, including which columns you want to hide. And so that makes it super easy to apply preset filters quickly without having to like go through each one. Next, I'd like to talk about the product detail. Very excited about this because it adds another layer almost onto Scan Unlimited. While sourcing in my previous videos, you might remember me using Scan Unlimited to quickly identify products that have a good rank and good ROI. But oftentimes I would open the product in Amazon to do further like deeper analysis into that, which by the way, you can still open any product quickly into Amazon. If you just click the title, it'll open a tab into Amazon. But we wanted to come up with an idea or a way for users to not have to like go into Amazon every time. So that's where the product detail comes in, and there's two ways to get to it, but we're going to go through it through like the scan way. So while you're in a scan, you just, whatever you want to see detail on, you just click the little launch icon on the furthest right hand column, and that'll open up the product detail page. So there's a lot in here. Starting at the top, you have like your core details. So you have the title, which also, if you click it, links to Amazon if you want to go take a look at it. Have your ASIN, you have a nice picture of the item. It'll show you the buy box price, as well as what fulfillment method the buy box winner has. On the right side, you have like the condition of the item, the category, as well as the sales rank within the category. If you click this icon, it'll take you to the Add a Product page on Seller Central. So you'll quickly see if you need to request approval. Nothing sucks more than investing in a product that you plan to sell on Amazon, but you find out that you're restricted and you need to go through that process of getting unrestricted. So that's there for you. Next, we have Cupid charts now, because that's something I use a lot. I love using Cupid charts while sourcing for products. And now I don't even have to go to the Amazon detail page and use the Cupid extension. I can see the charts right here in front of me. And we pull in the Amazon price, the marketplace new price, and the sales rank. And you can look at it over a 30-day, 90-day, or 365-day date range. So very useful, and it's right there in front of you, so I love that new feature. Now for each offer, you'll see the landed price, the fulfillment method, the seller rating, the seller count or a feedback count, and whether they're a featured merchant or not. You'll notice that the 1574 here for the buy box winner is the same in the top bar. So it basically says the same information, but it's listed with all the other offers. But neat is actually our first time introducing the ability to see if Amazon is the seller themselves. So in the offers component, if Amazon is the seller, you'll see that instead of a seller rating and a seller feedback count, it'll just be like an icon of like an Amazon icon that says Amazon is seller. So that's really exciting to finally see Amazon being identified. Good complement to the Keep a Chart is the calculator. And I say that because the Keep a Chart is going to give you historical pricing. And so, the moral of the story is that prices don't stay still and they're always changing. So you kind of want to get, a good idea of okay, so if let's say the product right now is $15.74, but based on the Keep a Chart, sometimes, looking at this Keep a Chart, it stays about $20 actually, typically. And just right now, it's at $15.74. So this allows you to kind of play with the pricing. So if I wanted to take this out and put 20, now I can kind of see, now I would get 23% ROI instead of, what was it before? So 15 was about 1570 instead of the 5.35% ROI. And of course, if you needed to go in the other direction, what happens if the price goes down? You're kind of almost doing a sensitivity test, to see okay, how much can this price move before my expectations are changed on the item. It also pulls in the shipping costs, as well as it gives you the ability to set the VAT rate. This is a US item, so it doesn't really apply in this case, but if you're pulling an item for the UK or any European marketplace, it's going to be very useful. And then the product cost here is actually getting pulled in from your scan. So remember, we clicked that icon to get here from your scan. So what happened was the cost from that scan was brought into the product detail, and that's what it's being calculated on. But of course, if you know that you'll be able to get a 10% discount or something like that, you can go ahead and change it here to see kind of what your new ROI would be. So let's do that. So let's say instead of $9.99, you get it for $8.99. So I went from 5% ROI to 17% ROI. So 12 percentage points. Last but not least, we have the variations component. And the variations component, pretty self-explanatory. Basically, if the listing has any variations attached to the parent if it has any variations attached to the parent ASIN, it's going to show up here. And sometimes you'll be surprised with what comes up. So for example, these two items look very similar, if not identical. But what happens is if you go to the listing, so let's go back to the detail page, you'll see that, it does have two variations. One is the personalized one and the other one is the standard one. So that's there for you, and if you click it, it actually takes you to the Amazon detail page as well. But that's really useful because let's just say you have this item that comes in red, green, and blue, right? These are the color variations. They're not going to all be selling at the same price, most likely. So having the ability to see, maybe the red is a really low price, but the green is really good, or it has a high price. So it can kind of, take you on different paths, and you discover new opportunities because it's all listed there for you. Otherwise, it's very difficult to do this within Seller Central actually. If you go to the Add a Product page and paste in a parent ASIN, you'll notice that you get all the variations, but like all the pricing is like embedded into it. Like you have to open the page every time. So it's kind of annoying. So this is a really good alternative. Now the workflow would be, you're looking at your scan, you want to get more detail about an item, and you click that launch icon. But of course, like you want to continue on with your scan, and that's why there's this back to scan button. Don't click the back button on your browser. Just click the back to scan button, and that's going to actually take you exactly like back to where you left off. Even if you were scrolled down halfway through your scan and you click that button, it'll take you right back to where you were last. So that's a really good workflow, just kind of going back and forth between the two views. That's kind of like what you want to go for. Now I did mention that there's another way to get to the product detail, and that is by using the toolbar here on the top. So this toolbar allows you to enter in a UPC, an EAN, an ISBN, an ASIN, and even a keyword. So it's a little different than the scan because scans don't let you use keywords just yet. But let's just, like as an example, let's grab this ASIN here just to show you what I'm talking about. So if I type that in, press enter, it'll pull up the product, and then you just select the one that you want. This was an ASIN, so it only had one result, but let's just say I typed in like Pied Piper. So it's going to give me all the results for that keyword, Pied Piper, and then I'd be like, oh, well, I wanted this shirt. Like, this is the one that I wanted to source. So you just click it, and then you get the product detail of that specific item alongside with all the other components. So that's really cool. You get to do keyword searches now. Granted, not in bulk yet, but we're making our way. This is like our baby step to that. So kind of coming back to the dashboard, there's a new exchange rates widget. There's so many sellers that either live outside of the United States and sell on the Amazon US marketplace, or they even live in the United States and maybe they source their products not in US dollars. Maybe they're getting it from abroad, or maybe they're a US seller selling in a different marketplace like Mexico or Canada or one of the European marketplaces. So there's a lot of scenarios where there's users that need to be able to keep up with the ever-changing exchange rates because it does affect your bottom line. I think it's something that people ignore. They just think, okay, well, the exchange rate is about this and it just stays like that. No, it doesn't actually. It's going to change, and you can lose money, but you can also gain money based on the changing exchange rates. So since we released Scan Unlimited, we always supported the over 200 world currencies within your scan. You can take those same currencies and add them into the component. So all you have to do is click the little option icon in the top right of the exchange rates component, or widget if you want to call it a widget, and then you just say add exchange. And then you get this pop-up and it's saying to select a base currency, so what you want to like convert from, and then you choose your to currency. So let's just say I want to see what US dollars to Canadian dollars looks like. So I press save and give it a few seconds, and then you'll see both the current exchange rate. So at the moment, $1 US is 131 Canadian, but also you get a nice little chart that says the percent change. So there has been a 0.67% change up in this conversion. So that can be really useful if if you're doing some sort of let's say sourcing in Canadian, or maybe you sell in the Canadian Amazon marketplace. So I think a lot of people will find that to be very useful. If for any reason you need to remove any of these, because we don't actually have a limit on how many rates you can monitor at any time. So this list can get kind of long and maybe you need to change it up a little bit. So let's say I don't want the US to Euro conversion. You just click it and then you can click the delete button and that gets rid of that exchange rate monitoring. So now we're only left with these two here. Like I said, there's an article that was posted in the Help Center, as well as if you just click the intercom widget in the bottom left, you'll see that there's actually a quick link to that article so that you can read through it. Maybe you prefer reading through it. That's fine. You can look at that article to kind of refresh from what I've been saying. Hope you guys like it, and of course we are open to new feature requests. So now that we've gotten the version 1.7 out, definitely going to be making more videos and focusing a lot more on reaching out to our users to try and help them out so that they can grow their business. Something else I wanted to mention was that right now we're running a promotion. The coupon code is Q4 update, and I'll put it in the description, but you can use that towards your first month's subscription of Scan Unlimited, and that's for 50% off. So definitely want to take advantage of that before November 30th when it expires. Of course, if you guys like the video, please like the video and subscribe. And also, I never asked for this, but I would really appreciate if you guys would share the video on social media, because I'm really trying to get the word spread about Scan Unlimited. Not many people talk about Scan Unlimited. They talk about a lot of different alternatives to Scan Unlimited, but I think that a lot of sellers could really benefit from using Scan Unlimited over the alternatives. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next time in the next video.